Joining us now is Research Fellow at the Institute of Public Affairs, Mia Schlicht. Mia, great to see you again. Thank you for joining us. Let's start with the UK, where the polling consistently shows that people are not happy with Starmer's Labor Party. The latest YouGov poll for The Times and Sky News shows that Reform UK remains well in front on 27%, which is an 8-point lead over any other party. Labor sits on 19% and the Conservatives are on 18%, which is down 1 point. Mia, not exactly hard to work out what that tells us, but what do you make of this recent poll?
Well, things are just getting worse and worse for the Prime Minister there in the UK. Look, he's holding on for dear life at this point. Unless there is a drastic course correction, I don't really see those numbers getting any better for him. And the rumours of a leadership spill, I think they would continue to be given weight. I mean, the reality is here, unless they start standing up for Britain's values, then Britons will continue to turn away from them. And it's the same case with the Tories. I mean, the Tories recently have managed to land a couple of punches here and there, but again, that won't carry much weight unless they actually start speaking about the things that those in the UK care about. And that's why we're seeing such a large amount of support for Farage, because whilst he has had to weather a couple of political storms as of recently, he managed to survive those because fundamentally the base is there to support him, because they know that he is willing to speak about the issues that Britons for so long have not been allowed to talk about, and that's issues like crime, immigration and the economy. He is actually there to stand up for those in Britain and to create a change, and that is what voters are desperate for. They are desperate for some kind of change.
Well, Nigel Farage has met with the leader of France's National Rally Party, Jordan Bardella. They met in London, and if the polls are right, they could be the next leaders of Britain and France. So Nigel Farage and Jordan Bardella held a private lunch in London, and they reportedly discussed building a patriotic alliance and pushing tougher immigration policies across Europe. They reportedly discussed small boat crossings and energy policy, particularly nuclear energy. And Jordan Bardella told The Telegraph that under his leadership, if he's elected, he would rewrite French border policy to help the UK tackle the small boat crisis in the Channel. Mia, what do you make of this?
Well, I think the wording here is quite key. When they talk about a patriotic alliance, that absolutely nails it. You've got two leaders here who actually want to start putting their countries first. And for so long, we have had very, very weak leaders in Europe who are so concerned with their globalist agenda that they have fundamentally failed to put the needs of their country first. And then when you look at issues such as migration, France knows better than perhaps any other country in Europe just how bad it can get when migration goes out of control, and how it can affect your economic infrastructure and how it can tear away at the social fabric of your society if it is not done in a controlled and planned for manner. And the system at the moment, the one-in, one-out system between UK and France, clearly is not working. It's a band-aid solution, and voters are pretty aware of that. So we've got leaders like Starmer who are putting their head in the sand, hoping that the immigration crisis will just go away and that somehow voters will just forget that this is an issue that they care about. But at the end of the day, it affects almost every aspect of their life. It completely tears away the economic and social infrastructure. And if leaders aren't going to face up to the issue, if they're not going to start talking about it, then other leaders will come in to fill that space and voters will flock towards them. And I think that's what we're seeing here, both in France and in the UK.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you just look at Starmer and he's been so hopeless on immigration. Just on Nigel Farage, he says that he's going to be taking the government to court for postponing next year's first ever mayoral election. So a set of inaugural elections have been postponed to 2028, with Downing Street citing the need for more time to reorganise councils. So Nigel Farage told The Telegraph, "We are actively pursuing a judicial review action against the government over yet another attempt to delay elections where they fear reform will win." The Conservatives leader also wrote on X that this is the second time Labor have cancelled elections. Democracy isn't optional. We will oppose this every step of the way. Mia, what's going to happen here?
Well, first of all, I think good on Farage for actually taking this challenge to the courts. I mean, just to highlight the hypocrisy of this whole thing, could you imagine if it was the party on the right who was delaying elections for blatant political purposes? There would be an absolute uproar. So where is the media on this? Once again, they are nowhere highlighting this problem because it's an absolute outrage. It is pretty clear that Starmer was not going to survive his leadership spill if he lost these two for elections, and it's also pretty clear that he probably was going to. Reform was surging ahead in the polls. So now it's clear that he's delayed those elections in an attempt to kind of save his own back. But the thing is, voters can see straight through this, and the people who are wanting to vote for reform were wanting to vote for reform because they wanted a change, and they are desperate for a change. So delaying those elections is going to do nothing except brew even more resentment amongst the community who are desperate to have their say to get their country back on track. So I think it's a very foolish move by Starmer, and I think good on Farage for taking it to the courts.
Donald Trump has reignited his feud with London's mayor, Sadiq Khan. The US president said that the mayor was a disaster, accusing him of doing a terrible job and saying that London is now a very different place. Let's take a listen.
If you take a look at London, you have a mayor named Khan. He's a horrible mayor. He's an incompetent mayor, but he's a horrible, vicious, disgusting mayor. I think he's done a terrible job. London's a different place. I love London. I love London. And I hate to see it happen. You know, my roots are in Europe, as you know.
Right.
And I hate to see that happen. This is one of the great places in the world, and they're allowing people just to come in and unchecked, unvetted.
Yeah, we certainly always know what Donald Trump is thinking. He's never shy about it. Certainly not shy about his criticism either. But those comments that London is a different place now. I mean, just speaking to people I know that's over in Europe, people who have lived in London, people who are now coming out, a lot of people fleeing London, a lot agree with Donald Trump there. It's a different place.
It absolutely is a different place, and good on Trump again for calling this one out. He's a terrible mayor. He has fundamentally brought London to its knees, and that is very clear to say, and you'll see it through all the different statistics. Crime is out of control. Violent crime in particular is out of control. Knife crime out of control. London is one of the very few cities in the world that it's out of control. Look at housing, for example. He cut the number of police, and now the streets are being run by activists, and the mayor there just has no indication that he wants to get any of that under control. He's completely allowing the activists just to run the streets with protests, and it's exactly why there are so many people who are fleeing, and now it's not even just people in London who are fleeing, but people outside of London are saying, if you've got the means to go, it is time to go. It is terrible what's happened, and I'm not sure who's still voting for him.
Just finally, Tony Blair has been dropped from Trump's proposed Gaza Board of Peace. Now, this is reportedly following strong backlash from Arab states and backlash over Tony Blair's reputation in the Middle East. Mia, what's the reaction to this been?
Yeah, look, I know Tony Blair's name was floated around at the start of this peace deal, that he was somewhat instrumental to it. That part, I'm not too sure. Look, he certainly has a lot of baggage carrying on from his time as Prime Minister, especially with his politics to do with the Middle East. But look, I don't think this is going to derail the plan at all. I think the big feat was actually getting the plan on the table in the first place. And the second challenge is making sure peace is maintained. That is no small feat. It's going to be a huge challenge. So I don't think Trump is going to allow a character like Tony Blair to derail any of those plans, because fundamentally here, the goal is peace. And Trump's been very clear from the start that is what he wants. Unlike many other leaders around the world, Trump has actually put himself out there and has actually gone and done the hard yards to achieve these peace deals. So I can't imagine, just because this small crux of the plan has somewhat not even fallen through, perhaps taken a sidestep, that will derail the plans in any way. I just can't see it happening. I think it pales in comparison to the larger issue here, is that we all want to see peace in the Middle East.
And Donald Trump deserves so much credit for achieving that. I mean,
absolutely.
As you say, he's really put himself out there. He's achieved so much more in ending conflicts than anyone else. Mia Schlicht, Research Fellow at the Institute of Public Affairs, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.